Hey family, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to Talk About It Tuesday, y'all. Listen, so y'all know for a couple of weeks we have been talking about motherhood and all the very different aspects of the motherhood journey. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. But either way, listen, it's based on each person's experience. And we know that all of our experiences have been different, right? The different trials and triumphs we've come through, for some of us, some different traumas, right? And so while we're on the tone of trauma today, the topic for today is surviving childhood trauma. And we are going to interview Miss Camilla Irvin. And we're just going to talk about, some of the things that she endured as a child that helped shape the woman that she is today, how she healed from it, how it still affects her, and all of that. So before we get in depthly into the video, please like, share, and subscribe because the goal is 10,000, y'all. 10,000 by June, right? Without further ado, how you doing, Miss Camilla?
I'm doing fine. Taking it every day, one day at a time. Taking the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, and the petty too. It is what it is. I mean, you know, life throws you lemons, and sometimes you got to make more than lemonade. You got to make lemon cake, lemon meringue pie.
Listen,
Shoot,
sis,
you
that's a
learn some
lot
new
of lemons. I don't
recipes.
like lemons that much.
Girl, I don't either, but hey, if it is what you like in the when grandma raised you, you eat what she put on the table.
Right. And
And that's like
sometimes,
life.
oh yeah.
Sometimes you got to eat what life throw on that table and keep it pushing.
You know what? Those are really true sentiments, right? I never thought about it like that, but those are definitely very true sentiments. And before, thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to share your story, right? Let's talk about some of the lemons that life has dealt you. I know we talked a little bit prior to this about some of the traumas you endured as a child. One in particular, you were molested by your grandmother's roommate, kind of at your
Yeah.
pace and at your comfort level. Tell us a little bit
And
about
it's
that.
been have a lot of people that don't know because a lot of people looked at this gentleman very respectful because he gave rides in the neighborhood. And when he got a truck, he moved people. So a lot of people respected him. But he rented a room for my grandmother in Brook Hill, Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a community which now looks a little it's off South Tryon, Remount in that area. And he rented a room for my grandmother. So a lot of people respected him. And a lot of people didn't know what I was going through in the house. I never even told my grandmother.
Wow.
She never knew. And even the day that it came out in an angry way between me and my mama.
Hmm. Now, why did you keep it
And
secret for so long?
I was scared. I didn't think nobody would believe me. I didn't know, was it right? Was it wrong? I didn't know how to feel.
Right. Right.
And to this day, I have still a wall up. I've been with male guys that in a relationship that some of them don't even know because I had to feel something with you truly, truly to trust you to tell you that.
Hmm. Now, how old were you when it first started happening to you?
I had to be about 8, 9, all the
Mm.
way up to almost was 13.
Wow. I have an 8-year old and I have a 14-year-old and I have a 12-year-old that's almost 13. And we know like stuff happened to little girls just like it happened to little boys. And I could not imagine just even one, I couldn't fathom how you endured such trauma for so long, but then even still, I can't even, I think, even if it were my children, I couldn't imagine my children having to go through anything like that.
And the sad part about it, you I know it was happening to me, but as you got older and start having sex, I can't even say was he even really entering me because he would be half drunk. He was older. I
Right.
mean, older. He was 60, 70 years old, which way
Mm.
aged to knew better than what he was doing.
Correct.
But it still traumatized me sometimes to this day. Like, I don't like being with me and in that heaviness of alcohol just in your face on top of you. I
Hmm.
don't like to feel pent down doing sex because, I'm trying to swerve and get away from, him being older. He will hold me down by my shoulders. So my shoulders is a no touch zone.
Right.
And it triggers me. It does. And I had a episode not too long ago in July. Um, my supervisor, we found out that he was a registered sex offender.
Wow.
And after finding out, I still tried to work for the company. I told them all about what I had went through as a child and even expressed that it might be hard for me to deal with him. And so, we wasn't really in a building where I had to be around him. I drove for a transporting company and we transported the railroad conductors and engineers to different trains, different stations. So on this particular day, he drive all the way where I'm at and get in my face. And him just
Mm.
being in my face knowing he was a sex offender triggered me why I ended up having a mental breakdown and having to go to mental health for over a week.
And so, even with that, like, so the situation has definitely affected you all the way into adulthood, needless to say.
Yes, because I was 26 years old before I let it out. Me and my mama was arguing and physically fighting. And during the argument fight, my mama yelled out, "Why do you hate me so bad?" And before I knew it, I said, "Because you fucking let me get molested." She looking
Mm.
like a deer cut in headlights. My sister, who was there, was like, "What the hell you just say?" And when I told, I say, Mr. Is I'm just gonna say Mr. J
Okay. Okay, we're
was
okay with that.
molesting me for years.
Mm.
And the reason, because I used to, my grandma, my mom and daddy were married and they worked. So we would go to school from my grandma's house. But sometimes, I just stayed on over there on the weekends. I love my big mom. And the year that my mom finally said, "No, Miss Hunter, it's time for me to come and be with me full time." So I had went full time to stay with my mom and daddy and brother and sister. And my mom had took all she could take from my daddy. And one day I came home and she was gone.
Mm.
So that shipped me back over there because, you know, my dad couldn't handle it really by himself. So he needed his mama help, which put me back over there. So I was like, dang, I finally got away from it. And by my mama leaving and not taking us with her, I was back over there to endure some more. And
So you feel like
Then
you were sent to a place of safety, right, by going back with your parents, and then once your parents separated, it kind of you went back to your grandma, so it pulled that band-aid
no,
off the wound.
I don't know how to call that a separation. My mom got up that morning, made us our breakfast, got us ready for school. We thinking she going on to work and this and that. We came back, all valve plus stuff was gone. And I would be the first one to get home. So I would play in my mama clothes and shoes. So when my sister came home, sitting there, mama's shoes, I hear her clothes, I hear her jewelry. You know, stuff I played in. I played on high heels or jewelry and stuff and church clothes before anybody got home. She was like, man, you lying. I'm like, no, go look. Ain't nobody clothes never did this. My sister look at the closet, we look at her dresser, perfume gone, everything gone.
So she basically was like, "Listen, I've gone through enough. I endured enough. Here, you." And I'm sure, even in that, having to have gone from being molested at your grandma's, then having some sense of normality going back to your parents, and then for your mom to just up and leave that way, that introduced a whole nother level of trauma on top of being sent back to your grandma's house.
But yeah, because it was years before we heard from my mom. And that turned into another anger, and I had so much built up into me to like still now. A lot of people will say, that bitch mean as hell. But I just
And
learned,
then,
it just that I was holding that in so much, and then my mama leaving, which now I understand after getting in my own domestic violence relationship. I don't invite
mhm,
nobody to stay. Not for kids, not for love, not for the money. Get the hell on.
right, right,
Period. It's first time, whether the woman doing it or the man, bye.
exactly, exactly.
You
Now,
can't fix them. You can't make them better. It's just in them. Just don't take that, because one day you might not be able to get up and go. I mean, I see my daddy knock my mama out and wake up with the same punch.
it ain't funny. It's not funny. It's the way that you
All
say
because
it.
he said what you was up there whispering in that man's ear. You'll never guess who the man was that he was talking about.
Don't say the man that molested you.
No, she was, when the church is over, the pastor calls you up and he said, what you need in prayer. You whispered in the pastor ear,
Camilla,
you
Camilla, I'm not. I can't. And there's nothing funny. Let me clarify this. There is nothing funny about domestic violence, right? There's nothing at all funny about domestic relationships, right? That introduces a level of toxicity. It's the way you said it. And then he hit her because it was the pastor. She was getting prayer from the pastor.
what a God. Yes. I mean, it was time we don't have to run out the house and jump in the car. And we had this little Vega, it was a car back in the 70s, 80s. And my daddy trying to grab the bumper, and honey, I screamed and said, a black incredible. Because he gonna drive home the car, keep my mama from pulling off. I mean, baby, now I don't blame her.
Right.
It took me years to understand it. And right when we was working on our relationship and getting back to a beautiful place,
Hmm.
my mother was killed by CMPD, and they got away with it.
And now, for those of you who don't know, CMPD is Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, is what the acronym CMPD is. And so I got to go back just a little bit. So going through,
Because the same weekend my mama died, a little boy they tased him or maced him at the food line up on Mallard Creek. And so everything was shined on that. And the little boy ended up dying, which his family got paid. We
Mhm.
didn't. And they covered up my mama death because everybody's eyes was on that little boy. He was working at the food line and he got into it. I don't know if it was the manager or cousin, but anyway, they ended up calling the police on him and maced him or tased him, and he ended up dying from it.
Jesus.
And it was the same weekend as my mother, same exact day. So everything was more focused on that. And then you got people that was in the Walmart on Albemarle Road, kept the tape, would not give us a copy of it. They helped the police.
Mm. Of course they did, because that's the type of stuff, all lives matter. I will say that, especially on this platform. However, we do know the racial injustices that take place based on our
But I mean, they
ethnicity.
should not be always trying to slam you down. And that's what they did. My mama was bottom heavy. She was lit up here, but she had a butt you could see from the front.
Right.
And instead of her going flat, she tilted and her head slammed into the concrete floor of the Walmart, and it caused, like blunt force trauma to her head. And it's finna be 17 painful years.
Now I
Because
want to
I
go
see
back a
it
little bit.
every day.
I got to go back a little bit, Camilla. So, seeing your mom and your dad being in the level of some level of toxicity, but the domestic violence that they endured, right? And as a child, your perception is everything. So that trauma, how do you feel like that shaped you as an adult going into relationships with, our counterparts with men?
Early on, I wouldn't take no shit from nobody. Excuse my language. It built that. Then when I got in mine, coming from somebody I was loving, it was like he was my kryptonite. Like my fist went limp. I couldn't hit him. I couldn't fight back. I started taking ass. What was like my mama. So somebody say, I finally, confided in somebody. They were like, girl, what the hell wrong with you? You Leroy and Val daughter. And not to mention your grandma, who definitely didn't play no game with the pistols in her pocket. You better fight. And then I turned around, baby. I was like Tina Turner in the back of that limousine one night on him. I mean, we're talking about somebody who don't punch me in my mouth. It's all busted up in the inside. And you telling me to give you, open your mouth. You don't know how to spit. How can I, bust it out my mouth? I mean, this was the type of person that will fight you and still want to fuck you. And I'm like, you want to look down in my face and ask me, do I love you? And I'm sitting here with a black eye?
That ain't how that works. Love is what love does. Now, having to have, like, seeing your mom go through it and then having your own experiences of domestic violence. And I know that you have children. Like, how has that kind of caused you to be more of a protector and and what does conversation surrounding domestic relationships look like for you when you're talking to your children?
I get on my sons because I have 5 sons and 2 daughters. And I tell my sons all the time, I don't raise no woman beater. If it get to that, send her to me, because I'm a woman. Both of us could do what we need to do. Walk away. I mean, even if she hitting on you, try your best not to put your hands on her. Just leave. And my daughter is old enough to understand. I tell her that, okay, don't sit there and be in that kind of abuse, whether it's verbal, physical, mentally. That stuff tears people down. And you get some of them so good at it. I don't care if you is the breadwinner. You got some people that is so good in that manipulation and abusive talk and this and that. They'll take you from mountain high to this little.
Yes.
And before you know it, I mean, you can afford to get your hair done, your nail done, but they take all that, they suck your spirit out of you to where you looking in the mirror and you walk around. I mean, at one time I was looking like I was on crack because
Jesus.
he had broke my spirit down so bad. And it's just like he just kept me rock bottom.
Right.
And like he learning being with him has trained me more to be without myself.
Right.
At one time it even trained me to where I can go without sex. Because having sex with him with the abuse, the sexual love part out of it was gone.
Right.
I
So
mean, I
that was
know
your
every
way of kind
woman,
of
so
that was your way of kind of
you're not
protecting
really getting
yourself.
wet, but you're not really getting wet for him, but he's still up there.
Right. But that was your way of kind of protecting yourself, right? By closing yourself
Mhm.
off to the intimacy. Because on the one hand, you're experiencing the physical abuse, right? From him hitting you. But on the other hand, I mean, I guess it still would be physical
And
abuse.
then I have people actually talking about, well, you still had his kids. I'm like, y'all just don't know how many died from the same ones he put in me that he knocked out of me.
Jesus.
They just don't know. You jump on me, make me lose a child, and I'm like 6, almost 7 months pregnant, and then you tell me that I wasn't worried enough to carry your child. And
What?
bitch, it's all your fault. How's it my fault? You don't dumped on me, but I had to take it. I
Mm,
didn't have to take it. Just my mind was stuck in that frame that I had to take it. And
hmm.
it's sad. And I know I'm not the first. I know I won't be the last, but I promise you it was the last. I will never, ever endure that kind of life ever again. I would rather be by myself and eat water with a fork before, because that life is not for anybody. And I don't want nobody to go through what I went through.
Correct.
I mean, it was awful.
Now,
It
let me
was
ask you this,
awful.
Camilla. How did you? So we've heard the traumas, right? How have you kind of started to put yourself together? How do you kind of create a sense of normality now at this juncture where you are?
I have to give a big shout out to this counseling service, Genesis Project One. I
Mhm.
have been working with them off and on for years because I had to learn to let people in to get some help. And
Right.
that was my hardest problem because all I knew was to keep stuff shut in, and that was building nothing but anger in
Right.
me.
Hmm.
And that anger that was in me got me in a lot of trouble. I used to didn't respect the police. This is my as Dr. Black, the owner and founder of Genesis Project One, told me that I like when I needed somebody to protect me, nobody was there. So
Right.
I'm so aggressive to everybody.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to get in touch with my femininity side. Because
One time for
sometimes
femininity.
I am like a man because I'm so used to wearing my own pants, wearing the pants.
Right.
I probably can have a millionaire come in here and I'm still gonna tell him what to do because I'm used to running the show. Because it's just even though the dude that was abusive to me, I still ran the show because I took care of everything. He didn't work, and then when he finally did, hell, I still ran every damn thing.
But see, that's the thing, though. I think when you get dealt lemons, in your words, right? Lemons, when you have to suck on lemons for so long, especially at an early age, it does make you resilient. It does make you hyper independent. And it does create a space which makes you a little more rigid around the exterior. So it's harder to play the role of a submissive,
And then
right?
you get in a life where you try and get friend girls you can trust and talk to. I thought I had one in a friend that I've known 20 plus years, almost 28 years, I would say. I mean, this girl just portrayed me like no other way I would have ever expected back in November. She told my boyfriend at that time some lies, turned him against me, played on his sickness because he was battling brain tumors that mess with his ability to comprehend.
Right. His
Even
cognitive.
to this day, yes, because the brain tumor, he had one sitting like in a four-way stopper, how his brain would work and connect with each other. Like this
Mm,
side for your memory, this side will tell you to do this. And so he had a brain tumor to sit right in the middle. And I mean, even to this day, she had him thinking that I took money from him. I'm trying to get over him, beat him. But guess who's beating him? She is. He's out in the street now. You took him from a home where he was safe and secure from someone that loved him for over almost 2 years to now he back in the street with nowhere really, with nothing.
mm.
You're still getting his check that you jumped up and made him make you pay over that I helped get started. You're still getting his food stamps every month on 11th. And a lot of people say, let it go. But it hurts me because I am him. I've been manipulated when you're there. And the good heart in me, it's hard to let go because
Right.
I've I've forgiven him for what he's done, because really at the end of the day, I can't sort of be too mad at him because he can't comprehend enough to understand. Because if I say Tori took your money, but Tori able to pull the money out and show it to you, and that person don't walk off with you, that let you know how bad they can't comprehend. And they still out to this day lying on you, say she took my money when I showed you all the money, and you still believe in the lie she told you.
It's, you know what? I think when you're a victim, when you are a victim, it's easy to identify other victims, right? The problem
Mm-hmm.
is, though, when people make a decision to continue to stay in victimization, right? So it's easy to say, hey, I was a victim, because in one way or other or another, we have all gone through situations that we have been the victim in, correct? However, when you're in a place to where, yes, I've been the victim, I recognize that I've been a victim, and now based on that, it is definitely time for me to heal from these traumas, right? Some people, be, they recognize that they're the victim, but they're okay staying in that role, right, of being
And
taken
I don't want
advantage
to be
of.
there because that don't do that. It don't let you're not living. You're just stuck in the world, and that's not where I want to be anymore. And that's why I thank you, because it's time I let this out and I can move on. I still been holding it from a lot of people. Like I
Right.
said, I got friends that I grew up with and knew the man because we all grew in the same neighborhood and don't know that this man done this.
Mm.
So I'm letting it out and I want to let it go.
Right.
Now, when I smile, I want it to be from the inside out. I've been smiling on the outside, but the inside been crying, screaming, and going through shit.
Correct. I understand. I understand that. Yes.
And I just want to, I've been wearing glasses a long time, but now I want to put them on and I want to see different.
Oh, wow.
I
Right.
want to feel different. I've checked out to check in, and some people are probably saying, "What the hell she mean checked out to check in?" Sometimes you got to check out of that space, that old life, that past, to be able to check into something new and what you really want. You can't. You're not gonna check in no hotel with no dirty clothes. You checked in with new clothes, so I want a new me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I had to check out of that old life and past to be able to check into a new me.
Right.
Now, while I'm taking my time to even heal from that past relationship, because I don't want to keep having them trust issues. I might move on to David. David ain't done